time for the games people playing. I'm too busy in Dubai with the fam. 2 a.m. Go standing and I'm gone. And I'm gone.
All right, attention. One of my favorite functions. I love working with attention maintained behavior. It is absolutely fascinating and super fun. All right. Who wants attention? Good. Sorry, not quite HD. So. Get a little bit closer. Baby stops. It's a really cool video because it shows one of our principles called stimulus control. And stimulus control is just that every behavior is under the influence of something in the environment. And right now it looks like Dad's got the camera from the sound of it. And that means at some point Dad has reinforced this behavior and probably continues to, because you're seeing an extinction burst. But the baby will follow Dad until he can see in order to engage in the behavior. Very interesting stuff. And then our last function right here that I have a video for is your escape. Escape, avoidance, and delay. So they all fall in the same category.
What's the problem? You can't lift that up? No! Go back and try again. You're almost to the sink.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
That looks like it's very heavy. I think you can do it though, Kirsten. I think you can lift it up to the sink. Then you can help clear the table. I think you can do it. You're big. Hammy couldn't do it, but you could do it. Oh.
Heavy.
You want to try again? Maybe you take your thumb out of your mouth and move your lobby and you can do it all. Okay, let's go. Put it in the sink.
It's like the amount of effort that goes into this right here.
You did it. It was so heavy.
There you go. There's that crying. I was speaking with some of you before about like that crying that comes after something is followed through on, and it happens often when the rules kind of get broken for the students, where they have this learning history that says if I engage in this behavior, this is going to be the predictable result. And when you shake that up, it causes like some emotional turmoil within these kids sometimes when they're learning the new contingencies. I can't see the emotions. I don't know what they're going through. I just see them cry after a lot of times. One of the things about the escape function that's often under-explained is the delay component. That simply delaying something unpleasant can contact your escape function. So when people talk about this as escape, if you don't completely get out of something and you have to do it later, they'll often be like, well, yeah, he had to do it at the end of the day. To which I respond, does anybody in here ever procrastinate on anything? Put things off until the last minute? Yeah, and you keep doing it. I've been doing it for 30 some odd years. And I know it's not the best way to go about things, but I still do it, okay? So there is some element of reinforcement in putting off something that's unpleasant, and just because you're making the kids do it later doesn't necessarily mean that you're winning that battle. The avoidance is even more difficult to see, because when you completely avoid something unpleasant, sometimes we don't always see that. And sensory. Sensory is our last component, and this is a little bit more difficult for us to test for because it's something internal. It's a feeling. It's either sensory input or an attenuation or removal of something unpleasant, like a headache. I love thinking about this where a lot of people will like bounce their leg or pick their fingers or twirl their hair. My wife likes to tie it in a knot, so she'll take her hair and she'll tie it into a knot and she'll pull it almost tight and then she'll undo it. Yeah, she's stimming. And every once in a while she gets her behavior is punished because she ties a knot and then she can't get it out. I definitely don't find that funny at all. But with the other side of that, with your headache, sometimes you press on the bridge of your nose or you massage your temples and it feels better. The mosquito bite, or I guess sandflies are out here, they bite too, yeah? So when you get a bite from an insect, it's a really good analogy to a good intervention versus a poor intervention. So when you get bitten by a bug and it itches, typically we do what? Scratch it, yeah. But what happens like 3 or 4 seconds later? It itches again and then it swells up and sometimes it bleeds, but you just keep scratching it. So one of my friends one time was, I was working with him. It wasn't Raph, but he had dreadlocks like Raph does. Raph's our camera guy here. And we were out getting some food, and he started slapping his head at the table. And I was just like, what are you doing? I was like, we're in public. This is not okay. And he's just like, oh, you know, I had an itch, so I slap it. If I scratch it, it messes up my hair. Or he had braids, I guess he didn't have dreads. But, he said it doesn't mess up my hair if I slap it, and then the itch actually goes away. He said it works for mosquito bites. I was like, no way, you're kidding me. So next mosquito bite I got, I'm walking down, like going like this, slapping my leg, and when you slap it, it'll like sting for a second, and it goes away. Crazy. So good intervention, the behavior or the actual feeling, right there, does not come back. Sometimes scratching the mosquito bite is like providing attention to attention-maintained behavior. It'll stop in the moment, but it'll just come back in like 4 or 5 minutes. So a lot of times teachers will think, especially for attention-maintained behavior, that a reprimand is effective because the problem behavior stops. That just means that typically that the need was fulfilled. It's like when I'm hungry and I eat food, I stop eating once I am full. So the students will stop engaging in problem behavior once they're full on whatever function it is. So that's something important to remember with anything. So there's a positive reinforcement side and a negative reinforcement side for both the socially mediated options, tangible, escape, and attention, and for the sensory or automatic, there's a positive and negative side.